always thought mirrors were just inanimate, just empty reflections of the real world. Until one night, I realized there was something lurking behind the reflections. It was a typical night. I had just gotten home from work, tired and ready to go to bed. My apartment was small, just big enough for one person, with a large mirror in the living room that had been on the wall since I moved in. I had never noticed it before, but that night, something made my skin crawl. I took off my jacket and walked past the mirror. For a moment, I saw my reflection move, but something was off. Its movements weren't exactly in sync with mine. I stopped. I raised my right hand. My reflection followed, but it was a split second too late. I blinked rapidly, trying to convince myself that it was just my imagination. But when I turned around, I saw it clearly out of the corner of my eye. My reflection, still staring back at me. My heart was pounding. I quickly turned off the lights and ran to my room. My breath was ragged, my hands shaking. It was just exhaustion, I thought. Nothing strange, nothing wrong. I tried to ignore it. My phone vibrated. A text message from an unknown number. Don't stare at the mirror for too long. I swallowed. My fingers sweated as I typed a reply. Who is this? Seconds passed and then a reply came. He's looking at you. My chest felt tight. Wanted to convince myself it was a joke, but something made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I slowly turned to the mirror in the living room. The reflection of my phone was there, glowing dimly in the darkness. But this time, there was something different. There were two shadows. I knew I shouldn't look at them again, but I couldn't help myself. With bated breath, I stared into the mirror, and there he was, standing in the mirror, a figure that looked like me but not me. His skin was paler, his eyes darker, and his lips were set in a wide grin. I wanted to move. I wanted to run, but my body froze. He wasn't copying me. He just stood there, staring at me. Then slowly, he raised his hand and pointed it directly at me. I jerked back, my breath catching. The light from my phone began to flicker. Then suddenly, everything went black. From within the darkness, a whispering voice came. I've been waiting for you. Woke up gasping for breath. My heart was pounding. My body was drenched in cold sweat. I was still in my apartment. The lights were off. The room was pitch black. I tried to remember what happened. The mirror, the strange reflection, the mysterious message, the figure that looked like me, but not me. I reached for my phone beside my bed and turned it on. The screen lit up dimly, showing the time, 3:07 a.m. I rubbed my face, trying to calm myself. Shit, maybe I was just sleep-talking. But then, I saw it. New message. Unknown, you woke him up. My hands were shaking. I swallowed, staring at the screen in horror. Who sent this message, and who did they mean by him? I turned my head to the slightly open bedroom door leading to the living room. There was only darkness, but I felt something had changed. The air was colder, too cold. I tried to calm myself. This was just fear in my head. Nothing happened. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and got out of bed. I had to make sure everything was okay. I turned on the bedroom light and slowly walked towards the living room. I stopped in the doorway. The mirror in the living room was still there, standing straight against the wall. Its reflection was dark because the room was still dimly lit. I swallowed and slowly walked forward. When I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection looked normal. There was no delay. There was no other figure, only me. I let out a sigh of relief. I was too paranoid, but as I turned to leave, a soft creaking sound came from behind me. I froze, my breath caught. I knew that sound. The mirror shifted. I turned my head stiffly, but the mirror didn't move. It was still in place. I furrowed my brows. I almost thought I was hallucinating until I saw something that made my blood run cold. My reflection still had its back to me. I didn't move, but my reflection in the mirror remained still, facing the opposite direction. I started to panic. This couldn't be. This didn't make sense. And then, in slow motion, my reflection turned to face me. Its lips were twisted into a grin, its eyes blank and dark like a bottomless pit. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but my body wouldn't move. Then, from inside the mirror, my reflection whispered, "Don't look away." I couldn't breathe. I just felt tight, my body stiff as ice. Wanted to run, but the voice kept ringing in my head. "Don't look away." My reflection, or whatever it was still standing in the mirror. Its eyes were pitch black. It smiled wide, almost inhuman. I knew I had to leave. Knew I shouldn't be here, but I couldn't look away. Then it moved, slowly. Its head tilted slightly, as if it were studying me. Then its hand rose, its fingers thin and pale, pointing right at me. I took a step back. My reflection moved back, but not backward, forward. It was as if it was trying to get out of the mirror. My heart was pounding. Wanted to scream, but the sound was stuck in my throat. Then something even more terrifying happened. My reflection disappeared. Not because I closed my eyes, not because the room went dark. No, he was gone. The mirror now reflected only an empty living room. Without me in it, I felt the air behind me change, cold. My breath fogged up, and then cold fingers touched my shoulder. I screamed and turned, but no one was there. I backed away in panic, my body hitting the wall. My mind was in disarray. What was happening? I turned back to the mirror, and there, he was back. But this time, he was standing behind me. His smile was wider. His lips moved slowly, as if whispering something. I swallowed, then slowly read his lips. My turn. Suddenly, the lights went out. I couldn't see anything. I fumbled for my phone, my breath coming in short gasps. I knew I had to get out of here, and when I managed to turn on the flashlight on my phone, the mirror was empty. There was no reflection. There is no me. I felt my blood run cold. I stepped back, trying to comprehend what was happening. Then my phone vibrated. A text message came from an unknown number. My hand shook as I opened it. The message had only one word: trapped. I looked in the mirror once more, and there I saw myself, not in the real world, but in the mirror. I banged on the glass, screaming, trying to get out. But he, the one who had taken my place in this world, just stood there, staring at me, smiling. He turned and walked away, leaving me here, in the mirror, forever.